Hello, podcast world. Here we are.
Hello. This is the first time we've ever recorded a podcast while we're in the same room together.
Feels a bit odd, doesn't it?
It feels very strange sitting here talking to a microphone next to each other. It feels really weird.
I don't actually know why we're next to each other.
Perhaps we should have gone opposite sides of the table. Perhaps we should at least have talked to each other across the table, yeah.
I feel like we shouldn't look at each other. I don't know why.
In case we're pulling funny faces.
Don't know. Very strange.
It's just my face.
Anyway, we're recording this in sunshiny Devon. Carla came up this morning. You had a traumatic journey.
I started to come this morning. I arrived this afternoon. It is, an hour and a half, hour and 40 minutes usually? 2 hours max?
Yeah, between an hour and a half and 2 hours, depending on traffic, isn't it?
Yeah, I left home at 9:30 and I arrived here at 1 p.m, which was long.
Long and tedious.
Long and tedious, yeah.
Tell everybody about the weird thing.
I was behind. That was coherent. Well done, everybody. I hope you enjoyed that.
Let's hope it improves.
I got stuck in some snarly traffic and couldn't see a reason for it until I came up behind a strange convoy that was travelling at about 30 miles an hour and taking up slightly more than 2 lanes of the motorway to do it. And it was a couple of armoured carrier vehicles, not tanks. When you say carrier, that implies tank, doesn't it?
Those big chunky lorry type.
A big chunky
things.
lorry with a long bed bit, long wheelbase.
Transporters.
Yeah, and they were carrying a load between them. It was across the 2 vehicles, which struck me as very odd because like I said to Caroline, I'm sure if you and I drove on vehicles at the motorway and put a surfboard across the middle, that wouldn't be legal. But they were carrying this load between them. But
it'd be unlikely that we'd have a surfboard anyway.
I might have surfboards. I could surf. I don't surf. And it had 4 outriders on motorbikes and 3 black vehicles surrounding it with smoked windows, so you couldn't see what was going on inside, and it was all covered in tarps, and it was very peculiar, and it was travelling very slowly. So I've decided that we have actually been invaded. It was a Roswell incident, I've decided, only the equivalent. I've decided we've been invaded by aliens, and it was an alien spaceship that they were transporting down the M5. I can't imagine where they were going with it, but that's what I've decided it was.
That was my main question, really. It was so wide. I mean, you said it was wider than 2 lanes of a motorway.
Yes, it was occupying the first and second lane and sticking out very slightly over onto the hard shoulder as well.
So where would it have gone from the motorway? Because most A roads, you couldn't drive that very far down, could you?
I do not know. It was very, very peculiar and slightly surreal. And it felt very Men in Blackish.
I feel like I don't have enough information. I want to know more. I'm not going to lie. I have just Googled M5 convoy today. M5 military convoy
did anything
today.
come up?
No, something about a lorry driver's strike last summer or something.
I don't think it was that.
No.
But there you go. So whatever it is, it's very hush-hush and secret.
Yeah,
and if you know all about it, let us know. There's no reason why you would.
Definitely tell us.
Yeah. So that was a delay. And then I told myself that was okay, because once I'd got past that delay, I would then carry on down and I would not stop in the services on the way to use the facilities. And after about half an hour, it became apparent that I would be stopping in the services to use the facilities. Definitely, without question, I would be doing that. So that delayed me a bit more.
Yeah, it's always good to do that when you have the opportunity, as I know to my detriment.
Yeah. And why is it at the services they don't put the toilets near the door? Why do they make you walk past
they're
all
always far away, aren't they? Well, it's obviously a conspiracy to make you buy stuff, isn't it?
You can't buy things on your way to the toilet,
no, but
because you're already
it wants you to see the stuff out of the corner of your eyes when you're scurrying past it to get to the loo, so you then go back and buy it. I swear, it's, you know... Yeah, it's not a good plan for postmenopausal
Taunton Dean services. It's a long trek from the car park to the actual to the point where you close the lavatory door and you're in possession.
All services are all the way past the little Waitrose and the Marks and Spencers, and I don't know if they have those.
They didn't have a Marks and Spencers. They had a WH Smith.
WH Smith. Who shops in WH? We've got a massive WH Smith in Newton Abbot, and I can't conceive of who's shopping there because it strikes me as a very expensive store.
Yeah, how are they still going?
And people buy their books these days from probably Waterstones if you want to go for expensive bookshop, expensive nice bookshop, or the Works, or a supermarket, or a charity shop, or Amazon. They also sell stationery, the most expensive stationery in the whole wide world, apart from possibly Selfridges.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't.
And overpriced chocolate bars. Even their chocolate is more expensive in WH Smith than it is anywhere else.
Do they even sell chocolate in WH
They
Smith?
do. They sell like large bars that people like me don't eat because obviously I'm a very slimline diet conscious person. Obviously. Yeah.
But I mean, who is shopping in WH Smith? Greetings cards. They also sell the most expensive greetings cards.
They do. Hallmark.
In
Hallmark
Christendom.
Cards.
Yeah. In Christendom.
Yeah.
So, yeah, someone tell me.
So if you are out there single-handedly supporting the WH Smith empire in your shopping, do let us know what you buy.
I feel like they might be the next big retail one to go under.
I am amazed that they haven't
I'm basing
gone.
that on absolutely no knowledge whatsoever, purely personal opinion. But
yeah, it's surprising to me that they're still standing. Yeah.
I'm just trying to think of when I have been into WH Smith's, and I'll tell you why I've been in there. They used to have the in-post parcel lockers right in the back of WH Smith's. And I think I might have put a book in there. I bought a book on the day it came out, and I can't remember what book it was. It's about maybe a decade ago. This is how long ago I bought something in WH Smith's. But, yeah, I don't think I bought anything in there for years. Have you?
No. Well, today I bought a bottle of Pepsi Max and went out the services. Yeah. So now I can't afford to pay the rent next month because that's how much that cost. But yeah, apart from that, no, I'm not a big...
I know you're not a drinker, but that was apropos of nothing. No, it is related. Will was home at the weekend. We had a surprise visit for Father's Day, which was really nice. But it wasn't a surprise for me because he told me he was coming. He turned up at 12 o'clock and got back on the train at 5 o'clock on Sunday. But it was lovely to see him.
Bless
really nice. Ashley was thrilled. Ashley spent Father's Day going and spending a lot of money on buying steak for Will and then cooking it for Will.
You have diversified, or whatever the word is.
I have, yes. Yeah. Will was saying that he went to the South Bank with Georgie, his girlfriend, in London, and they went into a pub and he had a pint of beer, or lager or whatever it was, and a half, presumably the half was cider because that's what Georgie drinks, and it cost £17.
Holy mackerel, Batman.
That is
£17 for a pint and
in
a
a
half
pub
of liquid
as
any
well.
Liquid.
I mean, possibly in a hotel cocktail bar in London, but
that is
in a
disgusting.
Pub. And I know it's touristy on the South Bank,
but that's disgusting. That's blatant profiteering. Surely,
everything's expensive though, isn't it? Somebody put in that Extreme Bargains couponing Facebook group that I was in, or I am in. Somebody put a post in that the other day of a picture of some Bisto gravy granules in Asda. £5.
Craziness.
£5 for gravy granules.
It's the Lurpak
outrage all over as well. Again. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
You know, bizarre, isn't it?
We're just going to end up sitting here in silence, shaking our heads at the price of gravy granules and forgetting that you guys can't see us.
We're meant to be being uplifting this week.
We are, yes.
We are, because we were a bit ranty last week, weren't we?
Okay, let's have some upliftingness then. Tell me something good.
I'm going to ask some... I've got some funny questions to ask. Okay. If you were to be banned from your local library, what would be the reason?
If I was to be banned from my local library, I haven't used my... I've got to be honest, I'm one of those terrible people who does not use their library and then complains when the library isn't there to be used. That's who I am. What would I be banned for?
Oh, I love the library.
Probably.
Not using it enough, I reckon.
Yeah, no, if I was to be banned, it would probably be for... Are you allowed to sit there and read all the books and never take any out? It's not like Waterstones, is it? You are actually... Don't you?
You can do that, yeah.
Yeah, can't get banned for that then. I don't know, what could you get banned from a library for?
I am sometimes a bit of a page turner downer if I haven't got a bookmark to hand.
Down?
Sometimes
you are the
I do try not to on library books. I only do it with my own books. And of course the Kindle stops all that. But if I've got a bookmark to hand, I'll use it. But if I haven't, I am a bit of a page turner downer.
I found a lolly in a library book once.
A
sticky lolly, and do you remember those flat lollies about the size of a 10p piece? I don't think you can get them anymore. And somebody had sucked it, and then I don't know if a child had put it in. Yeah, it was a used lolly.
It was stuck the pages.
Yeah, yes. But it was a big, heavy book. It wasn't a child's book. It was a big, heavy book, which I assume is how it had missed the attentions of the librarian or whatever when it had come back in, and they hadn't noticed because it had actually squashed practically flat. And I was turning the pages, and I was like, There's a lolly. It was a yellow one. A yellow lolly.
In that context, my option of turning the page down is better than using a lolly.
Surely somebody didn't use a sticky lolly as a bookmark, did they? Surely that was a child that did that. Surely somebody didn't think that was an adequate bookmark.
I do love a visit to the library, though. I love coming out with a big pile of books. There's something nice about it.
Is yours all automated now? The last time I went to my library, there wasn't a person dealing with you. You had to put them through a machine.
Well, there is machines. However, the machine, I tend to reserve books. You have to pay £1 when you reserve a book, which I don't mind because it all goes back into the library, presumably, doesn't it? Or perhaps it goes to fixing potholes, in which case I probably need to pay I probably need to pay £10 rather than £1 because that's not working. Anyway, they do have a machine, but the machine has stopped taking money, so you go to the desk now. There's always a person on the desk.
Right.
And I said to the lady on the desk last time I went to the library a few weeks ago, are they ever going to fix the coin thing in the machine? Or she said, oh no, the machines are becoming obsolete. I said, you've only had the machines I said 5 years. She said it was more like 7. But they're getting new machines. And these things are like the size of a cash point. They're massive, great big machines. How can they be becoming obsolete so quickly?
That's where your pound's going. Your pound is going to buy new machines.
Oh, God, I'd just rather they employed another person.
Yeah. I would far rather, in every possible way, be served by a person than by a machine. Much rather. I very much dislike everything being by machine. I think it's we're losing.
Soulless.
We're losing our jobs. People are losing their jobs because they've closed all the bloody banks. This is not going to be uplifting because I'm going to start ranting about banks. They're closing all the banks right, left and centre. They're forcing us into a cashless society whether we like it or not, and they get rid of all the people, and sooner or later we'll all be robots and we won't even know. Thank you for listening. Thank you for coming to my TED talk.
Do you know, I was pondering this afternoon. We stopped at Sainsbury's to go to the parcel. Well, to go to Sainsbury's, but I popped to get a locker out a parcel out of the parcel locker while we were there. And when you go and get a parcel out of the parcel locker, it sends you an email, tells you your parcel's ready, and sends you a QR code, which you hold up to the little scanning device on the big bank of parcel lockers. It bleeps as it scans it, and then it automatically opens.
Pings open.
Yeah, the pings open. There's your parcel. And I thought to myself as I was walking back to meet Carla at the car, if you'd have said to me when I was a child that I would have a computer in order to get my parcel that the postman delivered when I was a child, I would have a computer in my pocket with a camera in it, and I would get a picture up on the computer
to a robot machine,
and it would ping open a door. It would sound like something out of Star Trek.
Yes,
you wouldn't believe it, would you?
Even the door open on its own would have been enough of a bizarre thing when we were kids.
Absolutely,
yeah. We watched Star Trek, and one day there'll be doors that you don't have to open. Shock horror. Yeah. The world has changed dramatically in our lifetimes alone, hasn't it? I mean, did we talk about this before, about whether every generation feels like the world has changed so much?
Yeah, we did. Yeah,
we talked about whether every generation thinks the world is worse now than it used to be.
Yes, yeah.
But I think the advent of the internet in our lifetimes has been the biggest cultural change over a short period of time, surely historically. Apart from perhaps the combustion engine, that was probably a really big one that changed things in a short period of time. But the difference from when I was a child to when every school had one computer that was absolutely bloody enormous, like you said, about the size of a cash point, and came in on a trolley. You had to go and fetch it on the trolley or whatever. In fact, the TV, you had to go and fetch it on a trolley. So the rapidity of the change now between that situation and all of us having at least one computer in our pocket at all times is absolutely mind-blowing when you think about the shortness of time that's happened.
I think the way it's changed the world is, and now we've got artificial intelligence.
Yeah, makes you wonder in another 50 years from now, in one more lifetime, because we've had a 50 years lifespan so far, ish, and in another 50 years, where will we be? I watched a peculiar film on Netflix the day before yesterday. It's called The Art of Love. And I watched it because
sounds like something completely different.
Well, I watched it because it looked like it would be funny, and it was the premise of the thing was it was two testers for a love toy company. I'm trying to pick my way carefully through what I say because of this, some people may not. But yeah, it looked like it would be a comedy. It turned out not to be a comedy. although it had funny moments, but it turned out to be more of a touching look at people's relationships with others and stuff like that. But in this, there was a simulated woman, and I don't mean just a love doll in the kind of Del Boy and Rodney with the inflatables in the car kind of scenario love doll. It was a woman came to dinner, and it turned out she was not real. They had a meeting with the Japanese to talk about future technology endeavours, and this lady came in and sat down, and they talked about how he thought he could enhance this love doll experience, and the other guy said, "Oh, I don't know how you would make one that we didn't know was real." At which point he switched off the woman who had come to dinner to prove that she was actually a robot, and I was like, this is the kind of thing, this is going back to Star Trek. You and I watched Star Trek and went, this is so far-fetched, this is so much, I can't imagine it ever actually happening. And now Star Trek is old hat, doors that open on there. The only thing we can't do is transport ourselves down into another planet, isn't it? But everything else is now actually happening. So how long before that kind of thing, that at the moment seems impossible, is actually there? Are we going to have, in my lifetime, robots that I can't tell aren't human?
God.
Yeah. Am I real? Are you real? Are any of us real? I'm having a crisis of an existential crisis. I don't know if I exist anymore. But yeah, I wouldn't say it was a brilliant film, but it was quite interesting, and it's called
thought-provoking.
It's called The Art of Love, and it's on Netflix. So it was a weird film. One of those where you watch it after and you're like, I'm not sure if I don't know what I think about that. Sort
of related, but not. Well, sort of tenuously, I guess. The computer era and generation and all of that. Ashley and I started watching last week, which we're very much enjoying, a series. It's available on Channel 4 on demand, called Halt and Control Fire, which is set in it was recommended to me by a friend, and it's set in the, I'm going to say early 80s, late 70s, early 80s, I think. All about the building of the competition between IBM and the smaller companies to build the first home computer. And although that sounds really boring, it's actually really good characters, and I would highly recommend. We're about 2/3 of the way through the first. There's 4 seasons available.
And you said it's on 4OD?
Yeah.
I'll have to look for that.
Yeah, well worth the watch. If you liked Mad Men, you'll like this, but although I haven't watched Mad Men, that was how it was described to me.
Yeah, I also haven't seen Mad Men.
No.
So we went a long way from the library, didn't we?
We did. Shall I start with another question, or we're probably just segue? What do you think is the worst thing that a person can put on their bio on a dating app? I feel like that's not a good question to ask, is it?
I don't spend any time on dating apps, so I don't have a lot of experience.
I've never been on one, so...
I think I have been on dating apps. I about a year ago, I went and had a wander around a dating app because I wasn't sure whether I wanted to start dating on that or not.
Right,
so I thought I'd have a look around. And after about 5 minutes on a dating app, I decided I didn't want to start dating. One of the things that I found...
Only 5 minutes?
One of the things that I found most off-putting was some of the truly terrible photographs. And I don't mean that the people had truly terrible faces. I mean that if the only thing you've got to do is take a photograph of yourself to make yourself look appealing, you haven't tried. And some of them, for example, you could see they had taken them with the webcam on their laptop, and they just held the laptop up, and so you just got the bit above the nose where they were at the bottom of the frame, and the frame cut off at the nose, so you'd only got the top of their head or anything. And then presumably, darling, you looked at that and you went, yep. That's the one. That's going to get all the girls racing to my profile. That one at the top of my head. You know, I mean, is that your best feature? But yeah. So I was like, and then I knew that I was being too picky because a couple of them, although they seemed quite nice, I found that I didn't like their wallpaper, and so I rejected them.
Oh my God, that is so shallow.
I think it proved to me that I wasn't truly ready to start dating. If I went, oh no, not if you could live with wallpaper like that, you're not the man for me.
Yeah, but maybe the photo was taken in someone else's house.
Surely you'd go, I don't want that wallpaper in my dating pic. Surely you would. Surely you'd have...
I'm not sure men think
surely
that
you'd have, and
deeply.
bearing in mind, some people might hate my wallpaper. I'm aware that some people don't like my living room wallpapers. They might be thinking it's a bit rich, you know, talking in your glass house.
What does your living room wallpaper
It has
look
large
like?
fern print on it. It's blue and large.
Oh,
It's only
I
on
quite
one
like
wall.
that.
I quite like it, otherwise I wouldn't have it. But yeah. But yeah, I realised that taste is a subjective thing.
Yes.
But I was just like, oh no, I couldn't live with you because look at your wallpaper.
Do you think you were maybe trying to find things not
I think
to like
I was,
about
yes,
them?
exactly. I think I was deliberately finding
And you
things
figured
to,
this
yes.
out and thought,
yeah,
this
I
is
went,
not
okay,
for
I'm clearly
me.
not ready for dating if I'm deliberately looking for things to find fault with. But yeah, it was one of those dating apps where it asks you a simple question. If you were in X scenario, what would you do or whatever? Has that shut down on us?
No, it's still going.
If you were in X scenario, what would you do? And the people who had even failed to answer that question within its remit, I was like, you're not for me either. You can't do the simple things. Yeah. So
I suppose internet dating, you're basing, like if you met someone, for example, in a pub, like we used to in the good old days, or a nightclub.
Yeah. We danced around each other and hoped that he would come over and talk to you. Yeah, those ones. Those were wonderful days.
Why is it telling me my vintage order? I've picked it up. Sorry, it's texting me saying my order's at the end.
The robots are failing.
Maybe it's another one. Maybe it's a different order. Oh, God. Remind me to go to the parcel locker again tomorrow. Where was I? Yeah, if you meet someone in a pub face to face and you're going to chat to them, aren't you? And you could chat to them for 5 minutes, and within 5 minutes you've got a good first impression, haven't you?
Sometimes within 2.
Well, yes. I think you're very impatient, but you've looked at them, you've seen them in real life, you've seen the entirety of their face, not just from their nose upwards. You've seen what they wear, because that has a bearing, doesn't it? And you've heard whether they're articulate or not. And it's kind of hard to glean that from a dating profile, isn't it? But I suppose we're essentially looking for the same things from that first interaction, I guess.
Yeah, I think if you can't understand the basic of the question you were asked, then we're probably not going to get on in real life. I think that's probably a fair thing to dismiss people on, because I know my own levels of intolerance towards other people's failings. I know them. I'm not proud of them, but I know them. Go on, Cameron.
I remember having this boyfriend on the ships, Jose.
Is that his real name?
It was his real name.
Okay.
He was half Portuguese and half British, but he'd lived in
Jose
Britain
Smith?
all his life. And he came to say, looking back, he wasn't for me.
Well, plainly not, otherwise you would now be Mrs. Jose, wouldn't you?
I can't remember his surname, actually. He was quite odd. He was all right on the ship.
Did you say old? Or
no, odd. He was all right on the ship, and then when we saw each other in Civvy Land, he was slightly off kilter. I don't know. When you see people in there, real life. I don't know. Anyway, we went to the pub this particular evening. He come down to stay with me, and we'd met my parents, and he was talking. My dad asked him what he did and what his previous job was, as far
what his intentions were towards you.
And he was telling my dad about his job before he went on the ships. And my dad said to him, "Oh, which job do you prefer then?" And he didn't understand the word "prefer."
Right. Okay. And was that a language barrier problem, or
no? English was his first language.
Oh, okay. So when you said he was Jose, I thought perhaps he was Spanish.
No, well, he was Portuguese, half Portuguese.
You did say that.
But yeah, that was a bit of a deal breaker, really.
Yeah.
I couldn't spend my life with someone who didn't understand the word "prefer."
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, I can see. Like I said, sometimes it is the little things that open your eyes, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. The last date I went on, the last but one.
Which decade was this in?
1922. It was a long time ago. The last ordinary date that I went on. It was probably 15 years ago. I have been on a couple of dates since then, but the last organically kind of I met someone and they asked me if I wanted to go out kind of date.
Yeah.
I was waiting for my friend. She was finishing a shift in a chip shop, and I was waiting in the car outside the chip shop for her to finish work so I could pick her up and drive her home.
Yeah.
And it was a warm summer's night, and the car was parked opposite the chip shop outside a pub, and there were some guys sitting outside the pub having a drink.
Yeah.
And they were chatting, in that bantery way, kind of like, "What are you waiting for, love?" And I was just waiting for my friend. And he was a perfectly personable chap, and we were chatting away and having quite a good laugh. And when he said to me, "Would you like to meet for a drink tomorrow night?" I said, "Yeah, why not?" And so off I went to meet him for a drink. And I can only assume that the man I met on night one, who had several sherbets already inside him, was a different man to the man I met on night two, who hadn't yet had a drink.
Oh.
Because the conversation just did not flow. It was extremely stilted. I was trying to make conversation. He was giving me one-word answers. I mean, maybe he had his beer goggles on the night before, and when he saw me sober, he didn't fancy me. This is entirely possible, you know. But I was trying to make conversation, and it was like trying to wade through glue.
Oh God!
And then he said to me, I'll never forget these words because they cut me quite deeply.
Oh God!
He said to me, "This isn't really working, is it? You haven't really got much of a personality." He said to me,
He said that to you?
He said, now,
how did you not punch him in the face?
Bearing in mind, for any listeners to the podcast who've never seen me, personality's all I got. I ain't got nothing else, okay? I'm all personality and not a lot else going for me. But yeah, he said, you haven't got much of a personality.
And how can you say that to anybody?
My jaw dropped because I'm like, I do have a personality. I'm quite firm about the fact that I have one. It might not be everybody's cup of tea, but I have got one, you know. And my jaw dropped, and I stood up and I picked up my car keys and I left without a word. I never said a word. I just picked up my car keys and I left. And I drove straight to my friend Jane's house and I knocked on her door. It'd be about 8:30 at night. And she opened the door. I said, "Hello, I thought you were on your date." And I said, "Would you say I've got a personality?" And she went, "What the swear word?" And I went, "Yeah." She was like, "Is that what he said?" And she was like, I spent days saying to my friends, "I have got a personality, haven't I? I have, haven't I?"
I bet he's turned in to the type of bloke that sends in deliberately annoying posts to the local spotted page on Facebook and argues with strangers.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
It was just, I don't know. Like I said, it actually made me wonder for a while if I was missing a personality.
It's unbelievable. Do you ever do this thing? I do this a lot when I think of 100 witty, quick comebacks I could have said.
Much later when the moment has passed.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I torture myself with them for days afterwards. I wish I'd said. Yeah.
I never said a word. I literally just picked up my car keys in silence and left. I should have thrown my drink at him. I should have done a proper... But I didn't. I just left.
You should.
Yeah. So yeah, the worst thing you can put on a dating app is probably terrible wallpaper. There you go. That's you can have that one for free. If anybody out there is thinking, how can I make my dating profile appealing? Not just to me, but I assure you, everybody feels exactly the way I do. Wallpaper's important.
And make sure your entire face, rather than just half of
just
it,
the top of your head.
Your picture, unless they do that deliberately.
Maybe the lower half of his face.
Perhaps it's a confidence thing.
Yeah, maybe he didn't like the lower of it, but there was more than one that had taken a terrible photograph.
I think you'd be
some
better
of them
off
that was
putting
really dark, so you couldn't see them properly anyway.
Maybe they live in a basement.
One of them had a woolly hat on, pulled on so far down his face that you could barely make out anything about him. I was like, you look like some of them look like mugshots. If you're taking a photo for your dating app, try not to look as if you're at a police mugshot. What else have you got on your list of
I've got what's your most embarrassing moment in your entire childhood, but we've done embarrassing moments before. I don't think that's fit for the internet. What's the wildest fantasy you've ever had?
54 looks good.
Which species would be the rudest if all animals could talk?
If all animals would they mean
still humans? Still humans.
But do they mean rude as in like naughty, sexy rude, or rude as in offensive and angry and not polite rude?
I think offensive and angry, really, don't you?
Then offensive. I think cats would be the rudest. I think cats would, if cats could talk, they would be sarcastic and sardonic and generally quite cutting.
Demanding.
Yeah. Cats would not even pretend to tolerate any of your nonsense. Cats would, Cats would tell it like it is, and they would not care if they hurt your feelings.
No.
Whereas dogs would be like...
Dogs would be the opposite. Yeah. Dogs want to be your friend. They're enthusiastic. They're pleased to see you. If I walk in from a week's holiday and Ron's here, he goes,
back now, are you? I see.
Right. Can you put some food in my dish?
If I walk into Molly after being out for 2 minutes, she's like, I'm so glad you're back.
I'm so glad you're happy. I really missed you. Can we go for a walk? Yeah, big difference.
Yeah, I think cats would be the most rude of all animals.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah. I can't think of any other animals that I think would be particularly rude. Monkeys. Okay. Monkeys would probably be rude as in...
They probably talk a lot, wouldn't they?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm probably a monkey.
I feel like neither of us can be rude about monkeys talking a lot though, because, pots and kettles.
Yeah, indeed.
Right.
This podcast is going to be 4 hours long because we haven't got Zoom cutting us off after 25 minutes.
It's only 30 minutes so far, 30 minutes, 10 seconds. Number 60. I'm going to do next. Okay. I don't know why I'm saying the numbers, because it's just a random set of internet questions I've pulled up. This is the weirdest question you're going to be asked today.
Okay.
Do mermaids have live babies or lay eggs?
Surely they lay eggs, don't they? Surely a mermaid would lay eggs.
They haven't got a hole to have a live baby out.
Exactly. Everything below the waist is tail. Well, where do the eggs come from? There must be an egg hole. I don't know much about the physiognomy of fish. What is it? Physiognomy? How do you pronounce that? I don't know much about what fish look like in their egg-producing areas. But presumably mermaids would be the same as a fish. Presumably they would lay eggs. And then presumably
spoiler alert, mermaids aren't real, so they don't do either.
No, but we're assuming for the content. And then I presume a merman would have to swim over the eggs to fertilise them, because that's how it works with fish, isn't it? Fish lay unfertilised eggs and then other fish swim over the top and fertilise them, possibly?
Yes.
If I'm not correct, please forgive my lack of knowledge. I didn't listen in biology. But yeah, presumably that's how it would work with mermaids and mermen. Mermen would have to... But also... what do mermen look like for the waist down? Do male fish have a thing? I don't know. I have to go away and do some research. I don't know anything about this.
I'm just going to go to YouTube now.
I'm going to go to Google.
How do fish reproduce?
Go to Google and say, what sexual organs do fish have? God. They don't have intercourse, do they? That's not a fish thing. They don't go on dates. And if they did, they wouldn't have to worry about their wallpaper, would they?
No.
Can you imagine a female fish looking at a male fish on a dating app and going, I don't like the reeds behind him? I'd never take my picture by those reeds.
No.
Today's podcast has gone a bit strange.
I've got a good one for you. What's one thing your dog would say that could say that... Let me start that again.
Okay.
What's one thing your dog could say that would completely ruin your image if she could talk?
It would ruin my image. I don't know if I've got a good image in the first place. Have I got a good image to be ruined? I don't know. She could probably talk about how much I break wind in the night. But then I don't suppose people ever assumed I didn't. People have probably always assumed I'm a gas bag and it's got to come out somewhere. I don't know. What would Ron say that would ruin your image, do you think? Caroline cries when she watches Love at First Sight.
She beats me. She beats me, probably.
That wouldn't ruin your image. That would support your image.
What is actually happening here is that Ron, because he's old, he no longer grooms himself.
Oh, yeah.
And when cats don't groom themselves anymore, their excess fur doesn't come out.
He's a long-haired cat. For anyone who hasn't seen Lon, he's a long-haired cat.
And so I have to groom him, and the amount of hair that comes out of him is unbelievable. I was grooming him when the cleaning lady was here this morning, and she was like, I can't believe how much hair's come out.
And it's still insignificant to the amount of loathing that comes out of him at the same time.
And I said, I'd only did this 2 days ago, but he won't be groomed. Like, I have to get him by the scruff of the neck and
he won't submit.
Hold him down, which sounds more rough than it actually is. But he then does this awful howling noise as though I'm like literally pulling out his claws one by one. Honestly, it's ridiculous. So
dramatic.
Yeah, very dramatic. And then he's obviously not in the least offended, because when I let go of him and I finish, he walks about 1 foot away and just glares at me rather than legging it out the house.
He doesn't run to a safe place. He just stands there and picks it for it. Yeah.
Just like, I didn't want to be touched.
Well,
anyway, that probably brings us to the end.
This has been
random.
Very, very bizarre.
Yeah. It has been odd. We've segued from...
We've gone all over the place, yeah. Have we been uplifting? Let us know.
I feel like it was better than last week.
Let us know if we have lifted thou up, if thou hast been uplifted. Why have I gone thee and thou? Why am I going to King James Version?
I feel as well we've been less interrupty. It's much easier to be less interrupty when you're together, isn't it, than doing it.
I think there's a slight time delay when we're on Zoom, and so one of us starts talking and the other one realises the other one's talking. And
yes, sometimes I do try and edit out the pauses, but sometimes they do get left in. But do you listen to it back?
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah. Do you like it? Is it good?
I think it's great. I think we're the best podcast I listen to. I don't listen to any other podcast. Although I did listen to Snog Married Annoyed the other day.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Shag Married Annoyed.
Shag Married Annoyed,
Yes.
that's it, yeah.
Yeah, they're funny.
Yeah.
I like them. Right, we're off. We're off to... What are we going to do? Might go and sit
See
in the
the wizard,
garden.
the wonderful wizard.
Yeah, I think we're going to sit in the garden, have a glass of wine. I'll have a glass of wine. Carla will have a Pepsi Max.
Pepsi Max, as always.
And...
Not sponsored.
No, not sponsored. Probably wish it was.
Pepsi,
Thank you very much for listening. And we'll be back again next week.
Bye.
Bye.